Hey guys, Dazzler Magic here, and I'm going to take a super high level view at what's going on with all this drama because I did a first recording where I explained the hell out of it and went into like how to build a class in a class action lawsuit. A lot of you find that interesting, a lot of you don't, and the video was way too long. So I'm just going to breeze through this, and if you still have questions, blame all the ADD people who can't concentrate on a video for more than 5 minutes. All right, so what's going on? Okay, let me introduce you to a card that is shockingly on the reserve list. Why the hell this is on the reserve list? I'd say I don't know, but if you know the history of why they built it and how they built it, I mean, they made blanket statements like all of the rares from this, and so this just got caught up in it. So Rock of Care Ridges is on the reserve list, which means you cannot reprint it in functionally identical form. 4 cost, single red, 3/3 flyer, the end. So as we all know, you can't reprint a card on the reserve list or a better card, a superior version of it. Clearly Wizards stated that, except they never did. We've all heard it. Okay, I'm talking to so many other creators and we're pulling our hair out because we all know we heard it. We just can't find a reference to it, including the original statement announcing the reserve list on March 4th, 1996. I have a scan of the magazine pages that announced it. Nowhere on the wiki page, nowhere on any kind of updated thing, explanation, statement made to the public from Wizards, any kind of article on Daily MTG. Nowhere did Wizards actually say we won't print a functionally identical or superior version of a card on the reserve list. But it was so logically implied, I guess enough people just jumped to that conclusion that it just became common knowledge that they said it, even though they never said it. So what people are saying and what they're freaking out about is, one, spoiler alert, they printed a card better than Rock of Care Ridges, when for the last 21 years or something, they haven't. So, news headline here. So like the obvious natural consequence of this is, they could just print, instead of Black Lotus, where it drops in for 0 and then you tap it, sack it, and it generates 3 mana or whatever. Look, I'm not rich enough to even know what the card says on it, but they could just do Black Tulip. Same exact card, save everything except 4 mana. But they never said they wouldn't. In fact, it's worse than that. In fact, it's even worse than that. Let me just unload on you all the different things that are going wrong with the reserve list. Which, as far as some people are concerned, now they've just tossed out the window. It means nothing, and they're going to basically start reprinting slightly improved versions of reserve list cards. And they're just testing the waters with the latest one. So the latest of the late definition is, reserve list cards are cards that will never be printed again in a functionally identical form. A card is considered functionally identical to another card if it has the same card type, subtypes, that one will be important later, abilities, mana cost, power, and toughness. So if they were to do Rock of Care Ridges and make it a 2/3, that's fine. Now if they made it a 5/5 for 4 flying, that's good too, because that's not functionally identical, that's functionally superior. But, as I may have mentioned, we've had about 20 years of them not doing that. So like Akum Firebird, 4 cost, red, Phoenix, so not rock, it's a Phoenix, there it is, qualified, subtype shift, flying and haste 3/3. So they added 1 additional red mana, which that alone might be it. Some of the other examples here, they just added legendary and like that's it. So the, it's 1% inferior is you can't have 2 in play. Boy, that's skating close. But Akum Firebird attacks each turn of Fable. Okay, there's your liability, and it's not offset by that insane landfall ability. So they downgraded it to make the mana cost harder. They downgraded it with the must attack thing. Then they upgraded it with haste and upgraded it with landfall. Well, it doesn't matter as long as there's one thing that makes it worse. They could say this is a worse card, not that they have to. So I've got like 10 more examples of them coming really, really, really close, but they either changed the mana cost, made it legendary, or gave it a slight downside. But like, boy, did they get close with, this is an AFR commander. So, the Dungeons & Dragons set commander thing. Vengeful Ancestor, double red. Other than that, it's a 3/4 flying creature, Spirit Dragon, so not a rock, oh boy. And whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, goad target creature. And I think since that's an after effect and it's already in play, you don't need to establish targeting during casting time. It effectively says up to 1 target creature because you don't have to have a valid target. But there's no ruling specifying one way or the other on the Gatherer, and that kind of pisses me off. But my reading of the rules is you could just have this fail to go off. Doesn't mean you can't cast it. And then whenever a goaded creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to its controller. So this is just across the board superior in every single way, except they changed the subtype and they added double red. So let's have some fun. Avaricious Dragon, double red, and you have to discard your entire hand at the end step. Okay. Bloodsworn Steward, double red. Flying 4/4 commanders get +2/+2. Oh, but they made it double red, you guys, and they changed it to Vampire Knight instead of Rock. That's just fine. And by the way, that's a commander card from WoW. Skyfire Phoenix, a 4-cost 3/3 Phoenix flying in haste. It has a 100% positive effect. Oh, but they made it double red, so it's inferior, you guys. So I've got more examples, but like you get it. Like Varric's Bladewing was another one, but all of them are really, really recent that they're really, really pushing it. But here is where they appear to have violated it, because in the spirit of the rule, they haven't printed a better card than Rock. They always added in one dumb little thing that made it worse. Well, we've got, okay, Moonveil Regent. It's a 4-cost with 3 generic, 1 red, not double red. Okay, check that off the list. It's a 4/4 instead of a 3/3. Uh-oh. It's just flying, and then the entire, like everything it says is 100% positive and optional. So they added an ability that has no downside whatsoever. All they did to stick to their own rules is make it not literally identical, and then unlike the past 20 years, they made it better. So that, doesn't stick to the unwritten rule that they never agreed to not make a card that's better. But within their actual, contract, all they did was change the subtype. So any creature on the reserve list, they can now just change it from, dragon to phoenix, from phoenix to lizard, from anything to ooze, to make it a golem or something. There you go. So this card right here shows that they're willing to sneakily snake their way past the reserve list and print cards that are just absolutely unequivocally better. After very, very clearly getting as close as they possibly could for almost 2 decades, or actually over 2 decades, having 30 examples of them not exceeding Rock of Kara Ridges, and then all of a sudden they just do it. And the less years you go back, like Rekindling Phoenix, Rivals of Ixalan, 4/3 for 4. Oh, wait, double red, you guys. Other than that, flying and then a resurrection ability. Well, it's inferior because they made it double red. That's been their out for ever. They've been pushing it further and further and further, and now with Moonveil, they have officially exceeded it. By the implied gentlemanly unwritten agreement of, well, also we're not going to do one better. So that's why everybody's losing their minds, and they're always saying this is going to cause a crash in the secondary market for any kind of reserve list card that's actually good and valuable. I've always said a crash is incoming and you're out of your damn mind to invest in them because it's just idiot MTG finance morons playing hot potato with it when they know there is no real demand. I mean, if this is only a legacy or vintage card and it's not a dual land, because people still do play with those, although I bet 90% of them are still in the hands of investors. But if it's just some $50 creature that occasionally goes in some weird commander deck, it's not worth $50. The actual player demand of people who want that card to play with it, or a whale collector that wants it to collect it, buy it and hold it, not just, oh, I'm a collector, I'm going to buy it for 50 and hope it goes to 70. I bet that's 5 to 10% of the market, and the other 90% is just MTG finance morons selling to each other saying, I don't want to be the last one holding the potato. Oh, look, I made 10, 20, 30%. Haha, now it's your problem. Last person to get stuck with it when it crashes, and everybody figures out that we're all just selling to each other and there's no true demand for these cards. They get burned on the order of, most of the value. It might as well hit 0 at that point. So that always has been the hazard. Now we have a legitimate reason where Wizards is willing to just say, oh, that card that's on the reserve list? Well, we never said that we can't print it better. Uh-oh, to put it very softly. So I think that summarizes it. Class action lawsuit, I'll just say not going to happen. It would be too difficult to build the class. I could go on for 10 minutes about why that is, but I would lose every single viewer. So now on top of it, you can't sue Wizards for it because it would never get through court. The funny thing is, Wizards printed, I never found hard evidence of this, but they did change the definition in 2011 of the reserve list. They tried to print a Judge promo, I think it was. So a special foil, special edition Judge promo, but still black bordered, version of a card that was on the reserve list that was very expensive, and allegedly they got straight up served papers. I don't know if it was a cease and desist or it was an initial, hey, we're going to sue you, and then before it came out, they canceled it or something. I'm not familiar with the whole story, and I couldn't really find a reference. But yeah, people getting litigious, that's not even the first time people have sued Wizards in the last 5 years, let alone in 2011. Or maybe 2010, it was sometime around there. But yeah, they revised the reserve list to make it more restrictive. But shortly after the reserve list was created, they removed cards from it. So they already went back on it and nobody sued them then. That's almost like implied consent if nobody sued them. But then what if you either weren't born yet, or that's a pretty strong defense, or didn't own Magic cards yet when they pulled cards off the reserve list, and your operating knowledge was what they said about it after you got in and after you bought them. And now you're going to sue them for going back on the reserve list with its modified, clarified form and some of the cards kicked off. Because I think they made it in 96 and then they removed some cards in 97 or 98 and then they finalized it and got rid of more cards going on it in 99 as of Mercadian Masks. I think that was roughly the timeline, don't quote me on it. So it was basically set in stone and only made more restrictive after 99. But if Wizards can prove that you owned a card in 98 and when they took, cards off of it, you didn't say anything or whatever, but now, 2 decades later, you're going to sue them. Well, no, you're not, because if you didn't throw a stink then, that's implied consent that you're fine with what they did. And that alone, in my opinion, would make the Class 2 difficult to build. So that's like the super, super quick high overview of it. Among other giant legal problems, like who the hell says this is legally binding? What if the person was under 18 and couldn't consent to a contract? And did they go around and get a signature from every single player? Or is it implied? Or is it like damages? Or is it a misleading statement? And then is it negligence? Or is it violation of a contract? What would you even sue them under? Now, I don't know the clear answer to that because you would need the most specialized lawyer in the world. And even they would say, I'm not sure. And like I said, somebody tried to slap him with a lawsuit allegedly in like 2010. So might be a little more sue-worthy. But remember, we've got the new CEO in Wizards of the Coast as of like 3-4 years ago. He's a greedy piece of shit from what we've heard. And he's allegedly been responsible for all the cash grab crap, all the secret lair stuff, even the Mythic Edition nonsense, and all the let's cut out the middleman, let's push Arena, let's basically redo MTGO but not delete it, let's lower the rewards of MTGO. Allegedly, he's been behind every single one of those decisions because all he is a business finance guy. He doesn't know or care about the community. He doesn't care what he's doing to it because he could always quit and golden parachute to a different job. And when you get someone like that in a position, kiss your company goodbye. So if we got someone like that at the helm and everybody under him, no matter if they've been at the company for 1 year or 20 years, they have to listen to what he says because he's the CEO. Uh-oh. And then on top of, hey, look, we just took 20 years of not printing a better card and flushed it down the toilet. Here is an unequivocally better card. Oh, but we changed the subtype. Well, that don't make it worse, does it? In fact, it's a more common subtype. It's a freaking dragon instead of a rock. What the hell is a rock? There's probably like 5 of those in the history of the game. There's probably 100 red dragons. There's probably 500 of them. Come on. By any definition, that is a better card. So are we going to see, I was going to say Blacker Lotus on our list. That actually is a card, but it's a silver bordered joke card from Unglued. And yes, it does generate 4 mana, but you have to rip it into pieces. Read the card, it's hilarious. I would say that is functionally weaker because you have to rip the card up. So that was actually a hilarious joke. And I heard from statements from the staff in interviews. I'm pretty sure I heard that they said it was a joke based on the restrictions of the reserve list and how they're never going to violate it. And then, well, fast forward, they just violated it basically. So at any point, we could see a time walk that just says take 2 extra turns. Would they be that absolutely batshit insane? No, but would they gradually just kind of sneak their way into it? Absolutely, because in the last 3 years, ever since like Rick's and even Commander 2019, it was the most egregious one I could find recently where they really tried to push it, but then like added 1 symbol or whatever. Yeah, they do seem to be going that direction, and generally with all the products, they've been going that direction with power creep and with greed. So yes, I do think we are legitimately in trouble, and I think this is legitimately an issue, and that's why. So this is going to be a nightmare. I think we're going to see prices start crashing, and the only thing Wizards can do is immediately backtrack. Because, I mean, remember when they were like, hey, on Arena, we're going to create this thing called Historic, but the wild cards are going to cost double. And everybody's like, no, they're not. And then like 2 days later, Wizards was like, okay, no, they're not. We went too far. That was a mistake. If they come out and say, hey, this new card, oops, we weren't supposed to do that. It was an accident. Moonveil Regent is now banned in every format. You cannot play with it in anything. I think that would be enough of a defense to reasonably fix a small individual mistake to cover their asses in court, and then they would just stop doing this. That would be the end of it. And I almost think we're like a week away from them doing that, because this is like blowing up in the community. People are not overreacting to this, okay? It's just they've basically done it like 5 times in the last 3 years. But this is the only time where really unequivocally they have done it. They have printed a card that is just better, period, with no downside. And they legally got away with it because, remember, it says same card type and subtype abilities, mana cost, power, and toughness. Well, subtype. It's not a rocket, it's a dragon. Done. We're fine. We're out of our current definition legalese. So are we going to see a time walk, but it'll be like a tribal instant? No, that's a super type. The only thing that really has a subtype is, I guess, enchantments. Although, back when stuff was put on the reserve list, there were no subtypes. That's why it gets kind of fuzzy. But the fact that they clarified it and put that in print, okay, retroactively something with no subtype, well, now you can change the subtype. So, in theory, take a Mox Opal and add equipment to it. So it's now a Mox Opal plus equip, and then equip 0 and it does nothing or makes a creature bigger. Oh, you changed the subtype. You changed it from nothing to something. There you go. It's fine. Print it. Nobody can sue you. And like, do I think they'll do that tomorrow? No. Do I think they'll do that in 3 years? Yes, if the game is still around. They are scrambling to make money after they are just losing customers left and right because of COVID and because of them just irreparably destroying the pro scene and standard constructed. Those two things, it's the death knell for the game. So with those nosediving, they're like, I don't know, secret layers and a bunch of reprints, and we're bringing masters back, and like just this, that. And they're like, hey, we had a record year. Yeah, but it's fluffed up bullshit. Now people have got wallet fatigue. Then you got inflation and everybody's, unemployed. And that temporary little, look what we did, we fixed it, which is just very, very, very temporary, like epinephrine to the knee of the game and the market. Those aren't real gains, okay? They're still losing customers left and right, and you can't just lose customers and say, oh, but we did all this abusive shit to get, idiot whales and rich people and people irresponsible with their money to give us more of it. It's all fixed now. No, you cannot survive losing customers on a downward slope of like 25 degrees, which is what Arena looks like. If you haven't seen the active user graph on Arena, holy shit, it is like the Hindenburg going down. They've lost, I would estimate, between 1 million and like 3 million active players. All I know is within paper, they only had 10. And on digital, I'm not sure if it's more or less, but I'm hearing from a percentage standpoint, it might be as bad as like 60 to 70% of players have quit Arena. Since the beta and almost since the launch, I think they lost like 50%. It is a catastrophe because they ruined Historic, they ruined Standard Constructed, and they ruined Brawl, they ruined everything. So now they print Moonveil Regent to just test the waters and say, oh, is anybody going to catch this? This will be precedent. If this doesn't crash the secondary market, not that they care, because Wizards doesn't sell reserve cards in the secondary market, so they could care less, but still, reputation of the game, okay. If nobody caught this, we would have seen the next weakest, crappiest, biggest mistake on the reserve list. They'd print a better version of it and just shift one little thing. And then they do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again. It's all slippery slope, slippery slope, slippery slope. I mean, look, 2021, let's see if we can slip in 5 standard sets instead of 4. Let's see if we can do 6 commander products in a year. Oh no, 7? Is it? Let's see if we can get rid of Planeswalker decks and add commander decks and sell people commander stuff more than once a year. Ooh, we got away with that. Let's see if we can do like 15 secret layers in a year instead of 10. I mean, I'm making up the numbers, but they just keep going to every possible avenue and saying, what can we get rid of? Let's try this. Let's try in Historic charging people double wild cards. And then people are like, no, you've gone too far. Then walk it back, immediately, jump off. Oh my God. It was just like when they tried to rotate standard more often and people lost their minds. Although in that case, Wizards was completely right because they were also changing the number printed and how they were printed. It actually made more sense, but they've been skittish about, oh no, the community's mad. Quick, undo it. Whether it's justified or not, but the amount of crap that they've gotten away with is the overwhelming majority. And that's just sad. It's going to take the game and just nosedive it. And do you think Mr. Cox gives a shit? That's the new CEO's actual last name, by the way. Kind of fitting. I mean, the only more fitting thing is if his last name was literally Dickhead. But anyway, that's the shape of it. And I mean, the whole secondary market on really, really rare, expensive collectors reserve list shit has always been a Jenga tower ready to fall over. And I think this is the push because all investors need is one skittish little, maybe I could sell my cards and put it into crypto. And then if there's more people selling than buying by even 1%, goodbye. There goes the prices. And honestly, since about 2013, the prices have just been going up. I'm sure there have been little speed bumps, but the price on like everything in the Magic world has been generally going up because, well, the cards aren't getting any newer. They get destroyed, they get lost, they get in the hands of people who are going to hold them forever. And it makes sense. And then more people and more money have gone into it. The game kind of exploded with Return to Ravnica. It exploded again with Arena. It's now shrunk, but the number of MTG Finance people, and then, I want to avoid, well, let's be honest, taxes, and then also inflation. Oh, cool, I'm going to empty my savings account because cash is worthless now in 2021. Thanks, Biden. And I'm going to put it into assets. And then they're like, 5% of it's going to be Magic because yay, Magic. That all pushed it up. And any analyst who knows what they're talking about will say it pushed it up too high. Then we've got Channel Fireball Events just closes as a company. Now there's no tournaments for like 2 years because of COVID and because of that. So basically the last legitimate, strongest reason to buy these cards, like even buy a dual land, is now gone. Boy, if that didn't set off a sell-off that destroyed 90% of all value in all reserve list cards, I don't know what will. Just kidding, this will. Like, that was the push. This is the kick. They just Sparta-kicked the values off of a cliff. I can virtually guarantee you of that. So Wizards better come out and say, oopsies, we made an oopsie. Moonveil Regent is now banned. If you have a copy, rip it up and eat it. Like, they better, in no uncertain words, be like, we are never going to do this. In fact, if they re-clarified the reserve list wording right now to say, and any card superior, that is the only thing that would keep this from collapsing, in my opinion. Anything else, we are looking for an absolute collapse. Or it's going to happen. Not looking forward to it or for it. It's going to happen. So if you own cards, get rid of them right now today. Pause the video, sell them. I'm not even kidding. It's that severe. It's that much of a red flags and red lights and alarm bells going off. And all the big, I own 50K where the cards people are like, holy shit, oh my God, this is terrible because they're so invested in it. And I'm just sitting back like, haha, I sold all my Magic cards years ago. Most valuable reserve list card I have right now is under $1. And I have 4 of them, and I just bought it because of a meme. So that's the shape of it. Extremely dire news. I guess once you've covered yourself, spread the word so that people aren't blindsided by it. But it's like, hey, keep it on the down low. I don't want to, make this worse. Not that I give a shit or have any responsibility to cover for Wizards' massive f-ups. But it's like, keep this on the down low, but spread the word, but only slowly into people you know, which, I mean, look at my sub count. You call this slowly? Yeah, I'd sell your cards right now. But if you know some store owners that have a whole glass case full of reserve list shit that's all like $500, yeah, I would, tell them to maybe consider liquidating those and putting it into a different asset, like, for example, crypto. That's not investment advice. I'm not an investor. Or financial advisor. I'm an investor. Anyway, that's the whole story. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys next video.